After the events of the Boskert battle, we see Ival in his bed, resting from the injuries he sustained from his brother's illegal use of dark magic. We can see that the curse of the dark magic is slowly trying to take over the Wolf Prince as well, but Myrddin doesn't seem to be bothered by it. She reasons that Ival has holy wolf blood running through his veins, and it is suppressing the effects of the dark magic. However, she does maintain that the curse might be hard to control if it lingers on in Ival's body for long. Myrddin feels that the dark magic can turn the charming Ival into a menacing monster because it can accentuate his thoughts. Windsor and Namiel don't seem to have a problem with this, because they both know that the Wolf Prince is a good and noble man. It's a reasonable assumption. But the chief Imperial Magician decides to clarify her statement. She explains that Ival's good intentions might become misguided in the quest for peace, and he might even turn into a tyrannical ruler if things were to proceed the way they currently are. This shocks both Windsor and Namiel, because they had no idea that extreme goodness could also lead to a disaster. Myrddin is supremely experienced, so she knows the importance of moderation and how humans can never live freely in a world of darkness or even a world of light. Basically, the curse needs to be removed, but it isn't as easy as it sounds because Myrddin isn't very familiar with this field. She laments that Phelos is the only one who can save Ival from such a situation, but then Namiel reminds her that he also has holy wolf blood running through his veins. This is exactly what the chief Imperial Magician needed to hear, so she gets to work immediately. It's a lengthy and tiresome process, as is pointed out by Nadia, whom Windsor instructs to observe her master from a safe distance. In the middle of all this, our hero Raynell is feeling bad for her lover boy and wishes for his speedy recovery. Tensions rise, but then Myrddin and Namiel both step out of Ival's room and gladly announce that the curse has been removed from his body. This puts a smile on everyone's faces, and Nadia asks Myrddin if she and Raynell can enter the room. Even Windsor follows suit, but Namiel decides to head back to his room for some rest. He states that he used up too much magic for the curse removal, but he doesn't sound very convincing. The sun rises upon the palace with full force, and we can see that Nadia, Raynell, and Windsor are all keeping watch on Ival. The blonde prince finally awakens from his slumber, but all he can remember is how the Boskert battle ended. He quickly remembers his crow girl, and calls out to her in a panicked state. Luckily for him, she's just taking a nap next to him, and there's nothing to worry about. Ival happily pats Raynell, and the others also realize that he's woken up. Windsor asks the blonde prince how he's feeling, and then he quickly rushes to get both Myrddin and Namiel. Now, Raynell turns into her human form, but instead of showing her lover boy some affection, she simply screams in frustration and calls him an idiot. This is obviously a hilarious moment for Ival because he didn't expect his crow girl to get so angry. She funnily smacks him on the shoulders while he tries to convince her that he's a patient. Raynell doesn't just stop there. She also mistakenly calls Boskert yogurt and then berates Ival for being so reckless during his battle. Windsor and Nadia are listening in on this conversation, but don't really know what to do about it, considering the crow girl's ferocity is because of her love. They do the right thing and rush towards the magicians before they hear some more of Raynell's lecture. Our hero does realize that she's overreacting to the whole situation, but things have been tough for her as well. She's had to sit and watch an unconscious Ival for days, so all her emotions are now bursting out without any filters. She tells her lover boy that he almost broke his promise to her, so he decides to apologize for making her worry so much. The couple shares a romantic moment as Ival wipes away Raynell's tears and even tells her to release all her anger upon him. He doesn't mind if she remains mad at him for his actions and goes on to say that he's never treasured anyone the way he's treasured Raynell. This is enough to put the crow girl's mind at ease, and she apologizes for being so dramatic. It leads to a cute moment as our hero realizes how silly she must have sounded, but Ival manages to console her. Suddenly, Myrddin and Namiel come to the scene, so Raynell turns into a crow to avoid further drama. After confirming the Wolf Prince's health, Myrddin is told about how the king would narrate countless stories about her because she was his mentor. This comes as a shock to Raynell, but the biggest surprise is yet to come, as Myrddin points out that the crow girl is able to understand human language. This makes our hero panic because her secret identity has just been exposed. There's a brief moment of panic, but then Ival confesses that he can't keep anything hidden from Myrddin. The chief Imperial Magician also says that there's no reason to hide Raynell anymore because the blonde prince is soon going to become the new emperor. Keeping this in mind, Ival asks Raynell if she wants to show everyone her human form, and she gets a little confused. He reassures her that nobody can harm her now because he's won Boskert, and Llewellyn is a prisoner now. This gives the crow girl confidence, and she quickly transforms in front of everyone. Our hero's appearance takes Myrddin by surprise because she had only assumed that Raynell was a smart bird. However, she quickly regains her composure and tells Ival that his crow girl had eaten a power berry. The blonde prince is surprised to hear this, but then Myrden explains that she's been studying the berries for a while. As a matter of fact, it was because of this research that she had met a new friend, who also transformed due to the power berry. We finally get to see the other crow person of the story, so Raynell abruptly cuts off Myrden to ask her if this person is still alive. The crow girl is asked not to be polite because of her bird genes, but it only makes Raynell feel hilariously awkward. She asks once again if this crow person is still alive, but then Myrden states that she had only met her when she was young. Since crows live for around 10 to 20 years, there isn't much hope for Raynell, and Ivel tries to comfort her. Now, Myrden gets ready to answer the question, but she also asks Raynell something important. If our hero also has the same lifespan as a crow, then it means that she will pass on earlier than everyone else, including Ivel. If that is the case, what is she going to do? This puts the crow girl in a spot of bother, but she eventually regains her confidence and says that she is going to make the most of her time here with the people she cares about. She looks into Ivel's eyes with dreamy intent and reconfirms that she is going to enjoy every second she has with him. This makes Ivel a little emotional, but then Raynell switches the mood and says that she is going to look for ways to live longer. This makes the blonde prince optimistic, and he vows to use every person in the empire to look for a solution to Raynell's lifespan. The couple's behavior entertains Myrden, but then she says that such efforts will not be necessary. First of all, she answers Raynell's question about the crow person and reveals that she's still alive. Her name turns out to be Hemphill, and she even knew about Raynell, but wasn't able to make it to the palace with Myrden because she was feeling a bit under the weather. Basically, this means that crow people can live longer than crows, because Hemphill is still breathing. Ivel becomes overjoyed as Myrden says that the power berry might be responsible for increasing a crow's lifespan, even though there is some more research that needs to be done. This is great news for Raynell, who drops down to the floor feeling relieved about the whole thing. Her behavior with Ivel actually reminds Myrden of the time she was also anxious about Hemphill and her lifespan. The chief imperial magician goes on to state that Hemphill is actually a very dear friend of hers, which is why they live together. Basically, she did not want to lose Hemphill at an early age either, which is why she conducted a lot of research on the power berries. However, she faced limitations due to the fact that she couldn't find any other crow people. Now that she has come across Raynell, she can breathe a little easier. The chief imperial magician then asks Ivel and his crow girl if they can assist her with her research, and Raynell immediately agrees to it because even she has a lot of questions that need answers. However, the blonde prince wants to keep things clear, so he presents a couple of conditions. He brings out the necklace that Raynell was wearing before she got kidnapped and asks Myrden to fix it. He also wants her to add more protective spells on the necklace so that Raynell won't ever have to face difficult situations again. Myrden can identify that Namuel has already added some spells to the giant sapphire, and states that she can do a lot more. This means that the necklace can be used to make a pact with an elemental, more particularly an air elemental. This obviously makes sense because Raynell is a crow girl, but Namuel is only worried because such a pact would require mana and elemental affinity. He does realize that Raynell has eaten a power berry, so it might be different with her, but the risk still remains. Luckily, Myrden reassures him that such an issue will not occur because Raynell is an animal at the end of the day. This is good news because animals have the highest elemental affinity, even more than humans. Also, considering the fact that Raynell can easily transition between human form and crow form, she should have a lot of mana within her. Myrden then goes on to explain a secret about the power berries. It turns out that they've never been seen attached to a tree, and have always been found on the ground or other such mysterious places. Basically, this means that the power berry cannot be considered to be a fruit. Ivel becomes curious and asks what to call it then. Myrden then states that the origin of the Valfric imperial family has always been the holy wolf, but there's a secret attached to it. The animal that was the most attached to the holy wolf was actually a black bird. This seemingly holy bird had scattered pieces of its egg all over the kingdom so that its descendant crows could gain access to it. This means that the power berries are actually fragments of the black bird's eggshell. Essentially, this implies that the power berries are meant for crows to unleash their true potential. Now that all the explanation is out of the way, Myrden decides to begin the process of Raynell's pact with the air elemental. She says that it shouldn't be a problem, but everyone still needs to exercise caution. Windsor and Nadia agree to stand guard while Namuel is asked to clear the mana around the area. He is a bit hesitant to do this but gets reassured by Myrden. As the chief imperial magician begins her spell, Ivel asks Raynell if she's alright because the look on her face is rather indicative of her nervousness. Our hero reassures her lover boy that all is well and she's just a little excited. After all, a pact with an elemental is every fantasy lover's dream, and the crow girl is finally getting to live it out. This also means that she'll be able to protect herself rather than having to depend on Ivel and the others for support. Now, Mirrodin takes Raynell to the world of elementals and asks her to remain calm because it might get a bit chaotic at first. She simply needs to focus on the right elemental to choose for her pact and everything will be alright. Now, Raynell is transported to an alternate dimension which feels amazing and terrifying at the same time. She is amazed to see the number of elementals around her, and the sight is a rather beautiful one. Mirrodin reminds her to call out the name of the elemental she wishes to make a pact with, and then our hero finally finds someone she likes. In a tense sequence, she gives the name Mui to this elemental and asks if she can form a pact. An engaging sequence follows, after which the Crow Girl is sent back to the real world where everyone is awaiting her. Mirrodin is quite impressed to see Raynell in a graceful new attire along with her elemental, who looks like an angel mouse. Our hero notices her clothes and realizes that this is something that happens every time she gains a new power. It's almost like a game character gaining a new level. She then looks at Mui and asks if this new relationship is acceptable. The angel mouse gives a cute look but is unsure of the whole thing for now. Raynell hugs her elemental and says that they will work things out with Mirrodin, even though she is exploding with excitement from within. The chief imperial magician also agrees to drop by whenever she can to help our hero with her new buddy. At that point, Ivel decides to hop in with his playboy instincts and asks Mirrodin not to take up too much of Raynell's time. This is because he would also like to be alone with his crow girl, and he hugs her with total confidence. Of course, this makes Raynell shy again, so she looks at Mui and starts talking about Ivel's amazing face. The blonde prince is still amazed to see his crow girl's modesty, but Raynell is now determined to make the most of her time here with her lover boy. Now, Ivel goes to the dungeon that's holding Llewellyn and wonders what to do with him, especially since he's been weakened by the dark magic. Ideally, he would like to get rid of him, but also needs to extract as much information out of his brother as possible. How is this going to unfold in the grand scheme of things? Like, share, and subscribe to find out in the next video. See you soon.